I'll start the meeting. We have all members present. That's obviously more than a quorum. So I can start the meeting. And the first order will be minutes of the last meeting. Did you hear that, Rick?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first order is the minutes of the last meeting. Does anybody have any comments? Those who sent around with Rick, I think there was one correction or something, but at any rate, they
Rick, did you ever get feedback from Bob on that comment I had on those?
No, I did not.
Okay, Bob, the minutes say with reference to the link trail rebuild. Link trail? Yeah, link trail. The minutes say that DCR has approved that work. I don't believe that you've actually had a conversation with DCR about that, have you?
I had a conversation. Maybe it was the wrong person. Maybe it was the
muddy
wrong
section on the link trail.
Was that
The muddy section on the link trail, and I know you talked to the Concom about it.
yeah? In the is that DCR watershed or DCR parks?
Parks.
Yeah. So, and so the I had a comment from what's his name?
Tim.
What is it? Who's the DCR parks guy? Tim. So I had a conversation with Tim, and he said that was fine for us to do that, as well as that's.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
All right. And,
Right.
All right. Yes, we did do that.
Good as is, Rick.
All right.
So any other comments? No. Then I hear entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Any objections? I'll do it this way. Any objections?
Second by Mark.
Then do I hear a motion to accept?
So moved.
And seconded.
Any all in favor? Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
So those are approved unanimously. Finance report from Susan's probably about the same as last time.
Just about. There's only been activity in the Hubbardston Preservation Trust. Otherwise, the donation expense is $248.34. Rider is $4,191.32. And in the Hubbardston Preservation Trust, we have an addition of $267.42 in quarterly interest, which brings the balance to $15,254.08.
That's a pretty decent interest. That sounds good.
Yeah, I know, 7% or so. So wow.
All right. Thank you, Susan. The old business, I think the only thing I got left on old business is Destiny's Fairy Garden. Any updates on that? I know Rick sent a letter out, but
Yeah, I haven't heard anything more. Bob, I sent the letter that you folks all saw. Thank you. And
all
sent
right.
that over to Destiny.
Katie, you got any comments on that?
Yeah, she applied for her gold award and did all the paperwork.
You there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. She
No,
Destiny.
apparently not.
You
All right.
can't-
Bob, stop talking.
So that's good.
Bob.
And Rick, you got any idea when they're going to start this project?
Yeah, hang on, Bob. Katie was trying to tell us all. So Katie, go ahead.
All right,
Rick,
Bob,
did you get that?
you can't hear us. Bob,
He gone? Oh, he's still there. Rick, you there?
I'm here.
he can't hear us. His speaker is
Bob.
also,
Bob, your speaker's off.
Oh. All right, I'll go back to that. Apparently Rick dropped off somehow. On to new business.
Wait, hold on. Speaker, did you put your speaker on mute?
Yeah.
Because they
good job, Mark.
Thank you.
Can you hear us now?
Can you hear us
Yeah,
now?
I can hear you now.
Okay,
Okay.
Katie, continue.
So I was talking about Destiny project, so I'll start over. So
Okay.
Destiny has applied to Girl Scout Council. She did all the paperwork. She is waiting for a follow-up Zoom meeting with council to go over a project. They're very excited about it. They have contacted her about it, but unfortunately the first date that they had, she already had a meeting to go to for something else. So they're going to contact back with another meeting, but the Gold Award Committee is very excited about an art installation. They haven't had one of those yet, so they're super thrilled about it. So it is in the realm of getting through the steps through council. So hopefully within a month or so, we should be approved.
Okay, that sounds good. So you're anticipating starting this in the spring?
Yes. Oh, yes, definitely.
All right, that sounds good. Next topic was progress for projects for 2022. What have I written there?
Signage.
Oh, spring signage. What are you going to start that, Mark, as soon as the weather gets better?
Well, I'm gonna finish off the sign designs over the next month or 6 weeks and put the order in. And then we'll have them delivered sometime this spring. And we'd be looking at installation after mud season. So probably
That's a good.
probably June or maybe July if I'm too busy in June to coordinate this thing.
Okay, that sounds good.
Easier to dig in mud season.
Repair Link Trail, that'll be in a similar boat. As soon as the weather gets decent and we can get out there, it's not far in, so we don't have much to battle with except the entrance to Link, which is only a few hundred yards on the trail, if that. So we'll be doing that, I don't know, maybe April timeframe, probably. Any thoughts on Jassie's Meadow?
April with the tractor?
Yeah, that's right in the middle of mud season.
Please don't.
Oh,
He's talking about Lynx Trail in April.
yeah, there's not far to go. The initial entrance to it isn't too bad. At any rate, it might get pushed out into May, but any thoughts on starting on doing anything with Jassie's Meadow as far as a project goes?
Remind me, what was the last scope we were thinking about over there?
Just do a perimeter loop, right, Susan and Rick?
Pretty much with the big rocks there that were sitting on top of each other and so forth, right behind Mount Jeff on the way down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A perimeter and
Yeah, along the stone wall on the west side. So there's kind of a trail all the way into where those rocks are that we kind of thought would be a good picnic area, and then from there head west to the stone wall, and then along the stone wall there's just a bunch of scrub saplings there. It wouldn't be too hard to, create a way to walk out as part of a loop.
And we need some sort of approval from DCR. Is that right, Rick?
I would assume so. it technically would be a new trail. And Mark, you also had some concerns about early growth.
Yeah, that was when we were talking about possibly clearing that field. If we're just talking about a trail, that's a different kind of issue.
Yeah.
But I mean, technically the CR or the WPR for Mount Jeff does not allow new trail construction. So we'd have to I mean, maybe the scale of what we're talking about is so small that it's not really a trail.
Well, there's actually, I mean, there's already that trail that kind of goes into the meadow and back to where the rocks are at the south side of it. So that part is already done. I mean, you can walk through there now. So it'd just be a question of whether we create a loop or not, I think.
Is this parks? Is this DCR parks?
Water supply.
Water supply, yeah.
Oh, completely different.
Oh,
And so who would the contact for that be, Mark? Do you know?
Yeah, it's Danny. Danny. What's Danny's last name?
Dan Clark?
Hmm?
Dan Clark?
Dan
No.
Clark.
No, Danielle.
Oh, Danielle.
Yes.
I sent you your contact information once, Bob. Her last
Yeah.
name's escaping me at the moment.
All right, I can look that up. I guess I should have started. Do we want that to be a project?
Well, we're not gonna call it Jassie's Meadow because we decided we weren't gonna turn it back into a meadow. So,
Well, we could change the name of that, so
Yeah.
that's a different point.
and we did talk about that. We will, we all, well, I thought we talked about that. We all liked the idea that it could be a little loop for families because it's a short hike in and families could bring little kids in there to sort of go around a little loop and there's a spot where they could sit down and
I mean, as far as the amount of work involved, it would be relatively
Minimal.
minor. I mean, I
Yeah.
think a couple hours of just cutting those saplings out and hauling them away, that would be the extent of the work.
yeah, I agree.
So then, so back to my question: Do we want to proceed with this as a project for the list?
affirmative, I think, yes.
Yeah, sure.
Also, Jessie retired technically from North County, right?
Yes.
Just recently, so
Oh,
this
really?
would be, it was in the newsletter, I think. was
Yeah,
it?
it was in last month's newsletter.
So this would be a nice time to get that done, this as sort of a bookend to things.
Yeah,
So, all right, so that's a couple of affirmative. Anybody have any objections to this being a project on the list? Okay, since I don't hear any objections, we'll continue and include that on the list, and I'll contact Danielle. Trail projects. This is just a note. There has been a recent group established in the last, I don't know, 5 months or so. That's called Ware River, whatever the rail river is. Dave, what's the name of?
You touched the Friends of the Ware River Watershed.
So we're Ware River Watershed Subcommittee, Trail Subcommittee, if you would. And so we have, the group has just taken another step in organization. Dave's going to be the chairman of that group. And right now it's only got 6 members Dave, myself, Dave, list off the members. If
Yeah,
you,
Lynn Goodnow, president of the Barry Riding and Driving, Mary Ann Kuchicki, she's on the Barry Riding and Driving, Cindy Schlerner, she's on the advisory committee to River Watershed, yourself and myself.
Brett,
and
And
Brett,
Brett Russ, he's the president of the Wachusett chapter of the New England Mountain Biking Association.
So
And
this
he'd
is,
be the chair, by the way.
this is a subcommittee of the advisory, Ware River Advisory Committee.
That's correct.
and this was presented to the whole advisory group. And Dan Clark is a DCR guy, right?
Yes.
And so Dan Clark is a primary interface / spokesman for that group. And at the last watershed meeting, there were no objections to the formation of this trail group. And so that gave us the go ahead and get a little more organization to it, and also expand the membership. And it was decided to have the subcommittee, and it's called a trail subcommittee, follow the structure of the regular Ware River committee. So there'll be town reps, equestrian reps, snowmobile reps, etc. So there's a broad representation that will include members from each town. There'll be an open space member from each town. So it'll go to, I think, about 14 members. And so that's the last status of that. And an optimistic thing relative, this has been really frowned upon, I would say, over the past several years. And between a change in structure at the upper levels, as well as having Dan Clark be the primary interface at the watershed meetings, there's a different attitude. And so everybody at that meeting was supportive of the Trails group, and it will include even formation of new trails, which is a really, I don't know, a significant change over what they had in the past. The idea of the watershed, particularly DCR, is to probably minimize trails close to the outlet that feeds the water supply. And they're much more amenable to trails, even those that are not existent in other areas, including Hubbardston, along the Burn Church, and places up near where Cindy Schlenner, behind Cindy Schlenner, and other places. So this it's kind of exciting that, and it'll be structured. The agreement will be structured similar to the maintenance agreement we have with Parks and Forests, where we have a lot of that group will be responsible for a lot of maintenance, and as well as the construction of new trails. If anybody has any inputs relative to that, they can provide them to Dave or myself relative to trails. Question for Mark: is that the same watershed that is in charge of ours?
Yes.
Now, with the existing agreement with our lands, with the fact that they will entertain new trails, will that spread over to ours, or does the existing agreement preclude doing any work there?
Are you talking about the volunteer services agreement for trail maintenance?
Well, that's associated with DCR Parks and Rec, right?
Right, yeah. So
No,
it's-
I'm talking about the other DCR watershed land that's has a restriction against it. The
Mount Jeff,
huh?
Mount Jeff, you're talking about.
Yeah, Mount Jeff, and with the fact that they're now amenable to entertaining new trails, would that spread over to that, or would the restriction that exists preclude
Yeah,
it?
yeah, it's a legal restriction and, oh, I mean, I don't know, you know, it could spill over into, I mean, there's always a certain amount of interpretation involved and the stewardship people trying to decide whether something really is within the intent of the restriction or not. So if there's a change in attitude that could spill over into the you know, issues involving the existing restriction on Mount Jeff. Legally, I mean, legally you're constrained by the existing language, but like I said, there's always a certain amount of interpretation involved.
Okay,
But what is striking me is that this sounds like an ideal forum to float the idea of the new trail over at Old Colony, the loop up to the Mid-State Trail.
yeah, yeah. I have another one that I'll bring up shortly, but you know, Dan Clark is the interface that we have. Is he now the person to follow through with that versus Danielle?
Follow through with what?
A suggestion on new trails. I mean, a primary one right off the top is that old road that takes off the old Malone Road and heads back up to Mount Jeff Road. I mean, that'd be one example.
Yep, that
So
would follow.
would Dan be the person to broach that to?
Sounds like it. Yep.
All right. And if anything, that sounds optimistic because he is very much in favor of this group. So, all right. So that may be something we want to follow up with, if from our point of view, with that group, Dave. So,
Sounds good.
the land off of up towards Sawyer's Road, Mark, do you know if that's Parks and Forest, right?
Yeah, that's Parks.
What about a new trail proposal there? There's an existing trail, which some of us have been on.
He put it on one of the maps.
Yeah, and you've got it on one of your maps there, Mark. That trail, could that be recognized as a formal trail now?
I think it certainly it potentially could be. It requires putting in a proposal form. So it would be working through Tim.
Okay,
You would put in a proposal for a new trail. I doubt that there would be much opposition at Parks, but there's a fair amount of inertia. I mean, it just takes a while to get
all right.
through the
I'll
process.
I'll contact him. That's a nice trail. And,
Yeah.
it could use a little maintenance in a couple spots, but it's a really interesting trail that goes by historical things. There's an old well, some foundation stuff in there.
Yeah, that's actually not a plus for trail construction. It means that the archaeologists get involved and
Oh,
want to know exactly what you're doing with a shovel in that area.
All right, I'll leave that out then.
What foundation?
But on the Google Drive, I put up a folder called Dcr Trail Guidelines. And that has their guidance document that has all their standards for trail construction, and a Word document for a new trail proposal is also in that folder.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, I'll follow up and I'll contact Tim on that. He's been pretty amenable to allowing what we want. And the last maintenance agreement, what's the acronym for that? FSA? VSA? Yeah. I mean, that even included the comment about new trails and stuff like that. But again, it would take that proposal to
Yeah.
follow through with that.
And it just, it's just, it's red tape. I mean, it has to get circulated and signed off by 93 people in various departments at the DCR.
Something along the lines of getting a VSA through, or is it harder?
Worse.
Worse? All right. Okay, I got that one down there. Any other comments on trail work or new trail or maintenance or? All right. The existing open space ban, that's coming up in about 2 years. What's the thought on starting work on that? How far in advance should we start working on that, Mark? Excuse me, Mark, you'd probably be the best reference to that.
I think we need to start this summer.
Okay.
It's due, the existing one expires summer of 2023.
Summer of 23?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be a year and a half.
So it gives us if we start this summer, it gives us a year to get it pulled together.
Yep, and that's quite a project to update that. So, and I think that plan, based on other plans that I've seen, like what Gardner has done, they have a pretty good model. So I think it would be good. So, all right, we'll bring that back up this summer. Oh, how about potential land acquisition? Should we consider thinking about targets on that? Anybody got any thoughts?
Smiling.
There's always Selfridge.
Yep.
It's still sitting there.
So can I kind of butt in on this one a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, so this has come up a couple times and recently at the select board, and it all came up because of the town gets first refusal, which comes to the select board on land that are in chapter, if they're 61A, whether it's forestry or agricultural. And a gentleman that has been to this meeting as well, Mike Stoll, happened to be sitting there at one point when one of these parcels came up for right of first refusal. And he asked if the town had a plan to look at all these properties that are in these kinds of lots to see if there should be some kind of strategic plan of them. So if certain ones come up that would possibly connect to like DCR lots in the back that were landlocked or something like that, but these ones had road frontage, then looking at possibly buying this parcel when and if it ever comes up for sale. So in other words, you know, look at them all to see if any of them and which ones have value. So there could be a plan put in place for the town to look at actually purchasing them. I don't know if you guys have done that, but it has come up twice now recently at the select board meeting. And open space was kind of brought up to kind of maybe possibly not to just dump stuff in your laps or anything, but to spearhead that, seeing that you guys are kind of deal with the open space and you guys know where all the trails are and DCR and, you know, water, you know, where river watershed land and stuff like that. So I don't know if you're interested in doing that, but like I said, it's come up twice. So
I think that makes a lot of sense, and
Yeah.
it sounds straight up Tim's alley to me. And since he's muted, let's quickly.
But we pretty
Well,
much,
Go ahead, Rick.
I was just gonna say, don't we pretty much, haven't you guys already kind of categorized all the 61A lots?
Yeah, we've got the map. All we need to do is draft a basically a prioritization of those.
Yeah,
61 properties.
for my former employer, one of the things I did was we came up with a prioritization matrix, whatever, a bunch of criteria that we could use to rate different parcels. So I think it would be a good thing for us to do, and I'd be happy to work on that.
Great.
That would be good. Yeah, I'd like to work on that. I don't know if anybody else would. I mean, there's some really ideal parcels. I mean, one, not that it's around our area, but the lands off a road, there's a lot of acreage. Most are in chapter of some sort, different chapters. There's a very few owners there. And so the way to contact anybody is pretty simple. There's only one property that is not, and that's somebody named Ortolino that's out of Boston at this point in time. His brother lives on Thompson Road. But Ortolino has probably maybe 100 acres. The other major one, who's it? Do you know? If you remember? At any rate, there's one of them. DeVico. So there's somebody named DeVico. Yeah, that's the same. That's I don't know if is that his daughter that owns the end of Selfridge.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So he's out of Watertown. He owns probably, I don't know, 300 acres. I have this on a list, but a primary thing of that is that if those properties were acquired, they could easily be there would be connection to the state forest, so there'd be contiguous land as part of that. So there's connectivity benefits, as well as the land is pretty prime land. So
So you want to be on the,
so anyway, new land.
Well,
Tim said he
first
would.
thing, I was just going to say, first thing I think makes sense is for Tim to start on that prioritization thing that he's already done for his previous life, and have us take a look at that and determine what the priorities are, and then start attaching those priorities to the 61A lands or any other lands for that matter that we have a right of first refusal on. And I think DeVico's isn't that 61A land for forestry? Or 61, whatever forest, not 61A, but
Ortolino's, there's an interesting aspect to the properties there. Ortolino's land is listed as classified as developable. The
what does that mean?
however, it means it can be developed, and the only issue, not an issue, an aspect of that land is it's landlocked by DeVico's land. It is extremely close to Route Road. DeVico's land has got about 6 parcels. There's one, it's only about 50 feet off of Route Road behind one of Ray Sawyer's property. But there is no direct connection to that property at this point in time. Ray is certainly not going to sell to Ortolino. He's already a little bit upset with him. His father, Tom, made a mistake. He sold the land that Ortolino bought, but he inadvertently included land along Ford Lane, and he didn't mean to do that. Ray tried to buy it back, and the guy said no thanks. So, but so he'd have 2 accesses to it, one from Sawyer, and then the other one from DeVico. So that's just if it were always landlocked, then it can't be developed. Is that right, Mark? You got a thought on that?
There's no frontage, right?
Yeah, I mean, unless you can, you got to figure out how to drive a road through there to develop it.
So the DeVico owns the access. The Ford Lane goes pretty close through the middle of Ortolino's land, but there's a portion of that is part of DeVico's land. The very front part of it is part of DeVico's land. So at any rate, that'd be something to consider. It would be really good to get, if this were on that high priority list, and personally, I think it should be, but because of the beauty, it's feeds a brook that feeds into the watershed, feeds into the Burnshire River, and then there's other significant aspects of that land, but that'll be for Tim and a group and us to decide. So, all right, that's enough on that. And Tim, do you think you got enough info to start?
Yeah,
Would you like to have a small subgroup meeting to start that?
whatever people want to do. My thought is to put some ideas down on paper and send them to everybody. But if you want to filter that through a small group first, that's fine too.
Go ahead and send them around to everybody. That's fine as a starting point, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other comments? All right. Anybody else got anything under relative to trail project or projects?
Just a question, Mark, Susan and I were talking about this a couple of days ago. I just can't remember. Where do things stand with the Geordie Lane property? As far as, I know you did a plan, where is that? And is that something that should be on our project list?
Oh,
could be, could be.
relative. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mark.
Good. Yeah, I mean, it's, it's dropped off my personal priority list in terms of developing a grant application to fund creation of trails in there, because I'm more interested at this point in the Old Colony loop, Mid-State loop.
Yeah.
But if the committee is sufficiently interested, sure, that could be on the projects list.
Well, probably should be there just as a placekeeper, if nothing else. I mean, we can only do so much, right? And so we got to prioritize. Did Concom ever sign off on that?
Yes.
They received it.
So
They
that's a no.
They don't need to sign it.
Oh, they don't?
No.
Okay.
No. And on top of that, I did bring it up at the meeting and nobody had any objections to it.
Okay. So that's just, that plan is just sitting there for future work, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. That's good.
Another trail that maybe for the good of the order we ought to have on the list is whatever is needed to access where Destiny is going to have her art project.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a small project that I mean, whenever she says go, I'm willing to get out there with tools. It'll only take a half day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's with a couple people, that's probably just less than a day's work, Mark.
So let's just put it on the list, Bob, anyway, just so, we have a placekeeper.
Okay.
We also probably should think about finishing the work at Mount Jeff with the foundation.
Oh, yeah.
The elephant in the room. You're right. Okay.
That's a really good thing. So I haven't had that on the list, but I had started that, contacted the town, contacted Graves relative to accepting the material, the concrete material. It's very cheap for them to accept it if there's no steel in it. And from this, my observations, I can't see any steel. It's probably done at a point in time where they wouldn't necessarily have done that. Anybody else notice any steel in it?
No.
Haven't seen any.
At any rate, so it was about 1/3 the price. Was only a few dollars a yard or something to accept the material versus, I don't know, $10 a yard, whatever. All right, so I'll put the foundation at Mount Jeff on that, and we'll get that at least started in the spring relative to following up with the town and having them be able to transport all the stuff that gets taken out of there potentially over to Graves. So anybody else got any comments?
On trails or anything, or just other?
Anything for project that we want to get done?
No, nothing on projects.
All right.
So
All right, any other comments on other business, any other new business?
Yeah, it's not new business, just information. A couple of weeks ago, Susan and I got a note from Cynthia at East Quabbin Land Trust, just to let us know that, I'll just read what she said. We decided to call the land Hidden Meadow to honor our small meadow at the top of the wall hidden among the woods. And the bird habitat plan will be underway in early 2022. We will be asking folks for feedback as the process gets started. Trail loops will also be an important discussion point. So that's what's going on with the Lombard Road Fieldstone Farm, at least East Quabbin Land Trust part of it.
What would be done relative to work for a bird habitat? I mean, when we had our land recently put a plan together on, the forester just suggested opening up space. So cutting down a number of trees, but particularly in an area so there was at least a 100-foot diameter for that to encourage other bird activity. Do you know what their plans are?
No, they're working on the plan, and that's basically all I know is what I just read to you. So they've obviously hired somebody. Don't know whether it's Roger or somebody else.
I'm pretty sure it's Roger.
Yeah,
He's going to do one of the forest management plans with the bird habitat component on it.
What's typically done to encourage that beyond just opening up areas that are large enough to invite birds into it? Mark, you got any comment on that? I'm just curious.
I'm not well versed in it. I don't know. It might involve which tree species you're going to encourage. And I don't have any.
Kim, you got any comments on that?
Well, I'm not familiar with the property, so I don't know what they might have in mind, but along the lines of what Mark was referring to, oak trees are a food source for more species of butterflies and moths than just about any other species, and the birds eat the caterpillars of the butterflies and moths. So if there was an opportunity to encourage oak trees, that might be one thing that they would do to help support bird diversity. So one of the things I've thought about doing on my property is killing some trees, but not cutting them down, just to increase the amount of dead standing trees for woodpecker habitat.
Okay, that's a good
So,
thought.
Bob, how about, we just got this a couple of weeks ago, just after the holidays. So maybe an idea would be to invite Cynthia and or Roger to our next meeting to just have them give us a summary or update if we're interested in hearing. I mean, it's really, it's their land, and obviously Roger was going to be doing the forest management plan, and like Mark said, it's probably going to include the bird part of it. So I'm sure they'd be willing to come and let us know where they are with things.
That sounds good. Anybody got any other things to bring up?
The open space stuff coming up in February, did that come just the reminder? Cynthia's doing something in one of the first ones, and one of the last ones, the last one in February, had to do with land acquisition. So does everybody get that on their email?
Yeah, I did. The open space conference.
Yes. Does anybody, what's the formal link? Does everybody have access to that? Because some of them look pretty
You just
good.
register.
Right, but I mean, so everybody just automatically gets it, yes?
Well, everybody that was at previous ones, sure.
Yeah, so Tim knows about it, I'm sure. David?
No, I haven't heard about that.
We can
Oh,
email
see?
out a link.
Yeah, I'll send everybody the email.
Yeah,
It's going to be virtual, of course.
yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, the month of
Right.
February, one per week is, I just skimmed it the other day, but yeah.
Yeah, it's all Zoom meetings, right?
Right.
Yep.
Right.
So they're all webinars.
Webinars, thank you.
And that's in lieu of in presence conference again?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. That's good. Yeah, send that link. Oh, well, Stuff's got it too, but send that link around, Rick, to everybody.
Yeah. Well, it's an email. It just describes it, and you can register there if you'd like to attend it.
Okay. Anything else people want to bring up?
Next meeting.
You're taking my job. And maybe next week, and we'll all come out of hibernation. This was the quietest I've ever heard everyone tonight, just like your bears. So anyway, they're still quiet. So what is the last Wednesday, the 26th? No, that's.
3rd.
20-something,
23rd.
23rd,
Yeah, 23rd.
February 23, right?
Is that all, is that okay with everybody?
Did you want to bring up the
Sure.
All right.
Oh, just one other last thing, birds. The Peter Christoph, sponsored by East Quabbin Land Trust, the bird photographer. It will be a good, if you're into birds and nature, it will be well worth it. It's an evening, isn't it? The 10th, February 10th, a Zoom that they're sponsoring. We've mentioned him before. I brought his book to one of our meetings. So we highly recommend it.
I sent that information
Yeah,
around to everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's coming up in a couple weeks. I
Yeah,
think
All
it's-
right. That sounds good. Anything else?
Do you think the next one should be a Zoom too, or just we'll cross that bridge when we get to it?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. That bridge it's a bridge too far. Okay.
Unless people have a strong preference right now, then we can.
No, this was nice not to have to go out tonight. So yeah. So why don't we just let us know, but we know when it is.
We can decide right now if people want to continue with a Zoom approach. Obviously, it's a little simpler just to walk into your room and the computer and attend. And let's see,
Didn't
how
look
do I?
that simple, Bob.
Huh?
Didn't look that simple.
That's true. I thought it was going to be, but I stumbled and fumbled. I had that down a while ago, but I must have done something wrong. Let's see. Do I hear any objections to keeping it as a Zoom?
No,
No?
as long as the town has an account.
Yeah, as long as we can, I think we only have, is Katie would know. You can only have one at a time, right? You can have them back to back, but only one Zoom.
Yeah, I don't think they've got a second account. I'm not 100%.
Right, that's what yeah.
Yeah.
So
We
we
used, but now I think we're down to one.
okay.
One account, so that just means it couldn't be on the same day that another committee was going to use the town Zoom.
Just not the same time, right?
Yeah. Which would be.
Okay, well, why don't we stick with Zoom? Let's assume that, but we can always,
Right.
if the numbers go down or whatever on the COVID thing, we can change it.
All right. That sounds good.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
Move to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it. Susan Worth seconds it. Okay, bears, go back to your honey. Hibernation. But we'll see you in February.
Any objections to ending the meeting? None?
No.
All right. Let's go.
Nope.
All right, we'll end the meeting. Good night, folks.
Okay, now you guys.
Good night.
Good night.
See you all.